Alright guys, welcome to a very anticipated video. I've been talking about this for months. Now this is an idea that I had pretty much at the end of last year, start of this year. I probably should have been working on this list a long time ago because I had 9 years to work on it, but this is the best of the decade. This is going to be the best 25 movies of the 2010 decade. So 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, all going to be included. Now, of course, I haven't seen every single movie. I did my best to go and rewatch a lot of other stuff from years that I just didn't see, but even then, I still couldn't get to every single movie ever. No one can. So, this is a list of my 25 that I whittled down and rewatched. I did blind reviews, blind fucking viewings, everything you can think of to get this list together. Of course, it is my list. I am not a critic. I am a fan at heart, and I definitely threw in some curveballs, to say the least, of people wouldn't be expecting on this 25 best list. It initially is a favorites list, so don't get too riled up. And every single list on here, every movie on this list is really something, because to make this 25 was hard enough. To make my 50 that I originally started with was hard enough. So to get to here is no feat of an own. So if you see a movie you really love at like 19, you're like, how is that 19 of a 10-year is a huge accomplishment nonetheless. So as I mentioned before, without spoiling it, because I don't want to give away my list, but I did make a list of 50 to get this, whittled down to 25. Some of the movies I hadn't seen before, so I just put on them and, watch them after. But there's a big list here that I whittled down for you guys. I'll show you guys at the end if you guys are interested, but let's kick it off. Number 25, Kingsman: The Secret Service. Yeah, that's right. This movie came out in 2015, and this is maybe one of the most surprising viewings of all time. I think this movie has everything going for it. It is such a great movie when it comes to just being something different. And it took, a spy genre that we've seen many times before and just took a modern twist on it, an artsy twist on it, and it got great results. This movie is phenomenal. Going in, I just didn't expect this type of movie. It's really good. It's funny. It has some great action scenes. It has some great visuals that just you don't expect from it. And the cast is great. Taron Egerton leads it off. You've got Samuel Jackson in there as well. A bunch of people that I'm blanking on, but it is a very good cast nonetheless. And this is definitely worthy of putting on my list at 25. Number 24, It Chapter 1. Yes, I would like to specify it is Chapter 1. It is the 2017 reimagining of the original It series and book. It is the first half. Now, we won't get into the second half because that's another thing completely, but this movie is really damn good. I think I've had it second on my list of that year, and this movie just delivered on being more than a horror movie. It wasn't just about the scares and kind of get you out of your seat and frightenedness. It was, we're gonna tell a damn good story, and they did. This is a really damn good story. It's a coming-of-age film mixed with a horror film with great acting, great performances. The kids in this are phenomenal. Skarsgård's Pennywise is so damn good, and I think this movie, for me, and to make these lists, you have to have something new and something better, something not just, this is phenomenal, but this is something different, and that kind of horror movie is something different we haven't seen before, and it definitely worked. Number 23, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Yes, if we're going to talk different, we're going to be talking about Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. 2010, this movie came out. It starred Michael Cera. It bombed very hard at the box office. It did terribly, but that doesn't take away. This movie was damn good. It was something so new, something refreshing, something that we haven't seen before. This kind of take on a comic book movie or a manga, and to put it to the screen the way it was written is just, like, I don't think we've ever seen anything since that's that accurate to just being like, what was written on the page, let's show it on the screen. Even if it does look ridiculous, even if we're going to have weird parts in this movie, let's make this perfectly accurate manga series into a movie that I think absolutely crushed it. Again, the stacked cast like most of these movies do. Michael Cera led it off. You've got Anna Kendrick, Brie Larson, Chris Evans, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Brandon Routh. We could go on, Kieran Culkin, but it's really good. It is so underrated, I think. It's very artsy, and I can definitely see people maybe not completely meshing with the movie because it is such a specific style, but I think it is definitely very damn good. Number 22, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now, I originally had this on my second best MCU film before pre-Endgame, pre-Infinity War. I did a list and I had it on second. The first was Avengers, and the first Avengers, spoiler, won't be on this list. I want to bump this movie up because I think it gets better. I think the action is just phenomenal. I think a pure action movie doesn't get better than this in the MCU. Captain America made you give a shit about him. He's a plain Jane character in a sense because he's just the moral high ground guy, which can always... It doesn't have to be the most entertaining guy, but he is. He's so damn good. Winter Soldier was a great villain. And that turn is just awesome. There's some great fight scenes. And I think when it came to this and why I bumped it up is because when it came to Avengers, I think we saw something better in that in Infinity War and Endgame. This one is just such a standalone, phenomenally good movie that I think definitely deserves any praise on anyone's list. Number 21, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Now, if we're going back to 2017 for this one, it actually came out in 2018 in Australia, and I think a lot of places as well, so it didn't make a lot of people's 2017 lists. I think it should have. It definitely deserves the praise. Underrated as hell. It is really damn good acted. I've done a review on it, and it's just maybe one of the best acting as a whole cast that you can really get in a film nowadays, and I expect it to be a slow kind of Oscar bait burner. It's not. It is something that's such a dark concept, and they made it funny. They throw in jokes all the time, and you're like, I shouldn't be laughing at what's happening, but I am. And I think this movie just does a really, really good job of that. It makes a phenomenal story, and just watching it and gripping you the entire way of basically there's no real sense of knowing what's going to come next, and I liked that. Number 20, Parasite. Yes, we're talking about the Oscar-winning Best Picture from 2019, Parasite. Now, this one obviously didn't make my 2019 list because I hadn't seen it at the time. I've now rewatched it, and what I wanted to put on list was, again, things that wouldn't necessarily be on anyone's list. As if I'm making a movie based on what I expect to be good, it's going to be a comic book movie, it's going to be comedies, it's going to be fun, it's not going to be hardcore action movies or foreign films. And this movie is a foreign film that exceeds anyone's expectations. It is really, really good story. I think once everything starts clicking and moving and getting just crazy, I'm like, everything gets better. Everything that we saw in the first half of the film, that let alone it's really, really funny on its own. It's fun to watch what's happening in the first half, and you're like, yo, this is funny, this is kind of, fun to watch, breaking it all down, and then it gets to a click, and then you're like, holy shit, everything's getting better. The acting is really good. Reading the subtitles felt like you weren't even reading the subtitles, which is something crazy. So I really wanted to pay homage to this movie on my list, because a foreign film being on this list, and me seeing foreign films don't happen, let alone me loving a foreign film. So number 20 is Parasite. Number 19, The Dark Knight Rises. Now, yes, this movie came out in 2012. It has been almost 8 years, and since then, there's been a lot of decline on the love for this movie. I think a lot of people want to break down some plot holes and some silly moments and whatever, but this movie's still damn good. In essence, Christian Bale delivers in a great performance as Batman as always. They took a villain like Bane, who isn't Bane in this movie. They took an essence of a character and made him something completely different and crushed it, which I really liked, because the reimagining of a character is very hard to do. They did a really, really good job with this. Like Heath Ledger's reimagining of Joker, because you hadn't seen a Joker like that, and we still are going, that is the Joker, and he's damn good. They did that with Bane again. There's some great action sequences in this movie, as well as the ending is something that just cuts you through the core. Like, if you're a fan of that trilogy, you see it, you're like, yeah, that's where he needed to be. This is what we needed from Batman to finish up, and it's great. I like that a lot, and again, the plot holes come into it, and I think that's why a lot of people start hating on this movie, but you gotta watch it and realize this is a damn good film with some damn good storytelling and some awesome action. Number 18, Looper. So this movie, again, is 2012, which seemed like a pretty good year for movies, and Looper is on this list, of course. This at one time was what I would say was my favourite movie. Before I started really getting into film, not long after I saw this film, if people ask me what's your favourite film, I'll probably say Looper. Like, that was a really good film at the time. I really, really liked it. I think getting a time-travelling story is so hard to do, because there can be so much fuckery with, what's actually happening and what can get behind all this shit. They did it really, really well. It tells a really great story, an interesting story, something you don't always see. In a genre of film that I don't really necessarily love, that kind of futuristic neo-noir kind of look, doesn't always ring a bell for me, but I really, really like this film. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was great in it, Bruce Willis was great in it, Emily Blunt was great in it. It's a really underrated film. I think there's definitely a love for it there forever, because of, early on I would always say watch favorite movie for maybe a year, maybe 2 years before I really started, getting a collection like I have now, Looper was up there. Number 17, Logan. Yes, of course, we had to have this one. This one was the best movie of 2017 and the perfect ending for that character. Hugh Jackman, phenomenal, of course. Logan, Wolverine's, the old man version, hitting the stage was awesome. I think this movie delivers on telling you a great story with some really good action, like beyond a great action. I think the best X-Men film there is, even though this is a solo film, it still is the best X-Men film there is, and definitely worthy of a spot on my list. Number 16, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This may be one of the greatest animation films ever made. This is so good. It is so funny, so entertaining, so fun to watch. It is comic books come to life, in a sense, because it's still a big screen. It is animated, but it's so damn good. The meta stuff they put in is phenomenal. I honestly probably maybe guaranteed I'd say top 5 I laughed the most in a movie in like the last, probably of this list in the cinemas. This is a hilarious film. It's awesome. It is the best Spider-Man film there is, which is crazy to say because there's been some damn good Spider-Man films. This is the best one. This lives up to the hype. It's damn good. Number 15, The Wolf of Wall Street. Yes, of course, Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio equal good things. And we saw this with this movie. It's 3 hours long. It's a story and it's there. It's one of those ones similar to Goodfellas. You don't necessarily know where they're going to go. It's not like, here's the boss. Here's the guy we're going to defeat. Here's what's going to happen. Get there. It's like, we're just going to watch this guy's life unfold with the main character telling us how he does it, similar to Goodfellas. And it's great. It's so crazy, some of the shit that happens in this film. Yes, it's very dirty. Yes, it's very adult rated, but it's fucking good. It's just awesome to see the scenes break down. Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, is really, really good in this film. I think the mix of Scorsese's direction with this film worked perfectly. And it is a long film, but it's definitely a great film. Number 14, Crazy Stupid Love. Yes, this is a curveball that I was speaking about because this isn't a cinematic masterpiece. This isn't one of the best made movies of all time. It's just a personal favourite. I have a love for this film, and initially this is what this list is about. Movies that I have an undying love for. This is one of them. Say what you want about it. It's cheesy, it's a rom-com, but it's damn good. It's Ryan Gosling being hilarious and awesome and at his best. It's Steve Carell being Steve Carell. It's Emma Stone being Emma Stone, with another great cast of characters around them. This movie is hilarious. I've really laughed a lot in this movie, as well as cared for this character. And the twist that comes later on is one of the funniest, best twists of all time. Hot take, I know, but I really love this movie. I think this is, when I talk about rom-coms, give me stuff like this all day, because I had to put it into this. This is like one of my favourite movies of all time. You could literally make me watch this every day and I'd probably never get mad of it. This movie's amazing. Number 13, The Martian. Yes, Matt Damon in space, 1 year after he did it in Interstellar, he did it again and delivered. He was phenomenal in this film. This movie is awesome. It is so engaging for a long run time. I remember sitting in the movies, in the cinemas, and watching this movie and goes, I didn't expect this movie to be so funny. It's hilarious, but it's also drama. It's what's going to happen next. It's thriller. It's just a weird mix of everything that's just so good, with a great cast of characters. Again, like everything, most of these films are. I laughed and I loved it and I wanted to watch it again, and it surprised the hell out of me. Number 13, The Martian. Number 12, How to Train Your Dragon. Now, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to kind of merge this between this and the second film, maybe even the third film if I'm getting a little bit kinky. This movie is phenomenal. I fell in love with this movie after watching it, and then went like a week later and saw the second one and fell in love with it again. I unfortunately made a mistake and didn't kind of think about it when I was making my list, and then went, shit, I had the first one, so I just didn't think about the second one, and I realised they're 1A and 1B, so I'm going to count them both, but they're so damn good. The storytelling them in it is just phenomenal. The emotional level I don't think I've ever felt in an animated film like I feel within this franchise. I think this movie and these movies just get me on another level that an animated movie I don't think ever has before. I think this is the best animated film of the decade, which is a hot take with stuff like SpiderVerse and stuff like Incredibles 2, Toy Story 3 and 4. There's some good stuff in this franchise of animation, Frozen, Moana, and I think this is the best. Great cast again, and it's just a fantastic movie that makes you actually think, and it's just the first one is like what people expect you to do, and he takes initiative and goes, I'm not going to go that way, I'm going to do something else, and it has such thought behind it, and I think it's such an amazing film. Number 11, Inception. Now this one, if we're talking best, well made, this is probably top 3. This movie is amazing. It is mind-bending, mind-boggling, mind-fucking. It is just amazing. The cast. Leonardo DiCaprio is awesome. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's awesome. Tom Hardy's awesome. Michael Caine's awesome. I could literally go on because it is stacked. It's such a well-crafted movie that took so much thought, so much mind-bending, and I love the three on the dream, because you've got 3 things happening at the exact same time that are so awesome in their own right, and stack them on, stack it on, stack it on. And the reason you're probably thinking, you're talking about so much good things, you even said it's top 3 best, I mean, why isn't it even in your top 10? It's so heavy, and I can understand it does take a little bit out of you to watch this film because you just have to be focused as hell, and I understand that, but that's not even a fault of the movie because it's just so well crafted. Number 10, Avengers Endgame. Now, I won't bore you to death with talking about the movie that everyone's talked about, that I've talked about multiple times on this channel. It's awesome. It was the perfect ending to this franchise, to this MCU. They're still going, but you won't see a lot of the same characters. It's emotional, it's gripping, it's awesome, it's phenomenal. It's just really everything we wanted to end on, we ended on. One of the greatest scenes is the portal scene at the end. It's phenomenal, it's comic book great, and it's there for a reason. Number 9, Joker. Now this is another movie I've talked about a lot, even, you know, in the last 6 months that it's been out, and it's so damn good. It is a phenomenal character piece with Joaquin's performance that is just so damn good that will literally guarantee him an Oscar, and he got it. Everyone knew it was going to happen. He went and got it. His performance as Arthur Fleck is amazing. Now, the one thing that I think people criticise the movie for, it's like the mental health and the violence, you kind of theatricalizing it, that's not the word, but you know, you're uplifting it, and it's like, no, they're scaring you. They're saying this is what could happen, and that's why. And I know people might say, well, it's not Joker. Well, it's Arthur Fleck, and it's a great movie nonetheless. It is character piece to a T of just letting a character live his life, and you watch him go crazy, and it's fucking awesome. Number 8, Django Unchained. Alright, a very hot steaming take here. This very well may be the best movie that Quentin Tarantino has ever made. This movie shocked me. When I remember watching this, I watched this for this list, but I hadn't seen it yet. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. I was actually sitting there, which generally happens in theatres. It is hard to get me on that level of holy shit, this is amazing at my own home, because you got things that can distract you. You're not in a cinema setting. It's not an experience. You're just sitting there and watching a film, and holy shit, the storytelling is amazing. Jamie Foxx is awesome. Don't even get me started on Christoph Waltz's performance in this. He literally may have one of my favourite performances of all time. I'd say top 5 guaranteed. He was awesome in this film. This movie is crazy. Leonardo DiCaprio comes in, Sam Jackson comes in, the stacked cast, ridiculous. Now, it's got an arty style that Quentin Tarantino definitely threw in there with some over-the-top stuff, but it works so well. This is a phenomenal movie, and it shocked me to my core of how good this movie really is. It's definitely up there, and again, I'm going to stand by it. It may be Tarantino's best work. Number 7, Nightcrawler. Now, I am a huge Jake Gyllenhaal fan, and when I tell you this is one of the biggest snubs of all time, him not getting an Oscar nomination, I think he should have won the Oscar. He didn't even get nominated. That grinds my gears more than anything. This is the most underrated actor of the generation, Jake Gyllenhaal. Most underrated performance in this movie, and the most underrated film. A lot of people have not seen this film, haven't heard this film. This movie is amazing. It's a thrill ride. It is just so intense, and you're like, how the fuck? What am I watching? This is what? And you're just gripped, and you want to see more. And Jake Gyllenhaal is giving a performance of the decade, and it's just awesome. This movie I could literally talk about for hours. I think this is definitely one of the best and underrated films of all time. It's 7 on my list, and it honestly, hard not to put it higher. Number 7, Nightcrawler. Number 6, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Now, yes, I had to give a Harry Potter reference in here because this is one of the best franchises of all time, and it kind of boosted it up behind the whole franchise because it was the ending. So maybe in its film alone, it could have dropped a little bit on my list, but behind the whole backing of the finish, it just threw it up. It's a perfect ending. It's everything we wanted to see. It was just, we've seen this part 1 break down, and then we're going to get everything in part 2, and they gave it all. There's emotional scenes, the boy who lived that came to die. Oh, it's just awesome. It's everything you wanted to see after you've seen 7 other Harry Potter films, the chronicle, the ending, and it's awesome. Number 5, Pitch Perfect. Alright guys, let's go, because I know I'm going to get some hate for this. Let's just square up right now. We're moving on to the top 5, and I'm putting Pitch Perfect in here. Hell yes I am. This is a personal love one. I can totally understand anyone that being like, come on man. Top 5. Even saying this is on my 25, even my top 50, I can get behind. I can understand your points, but I love this film. I honestly think it's a great film that I will fight you on. It is really fun. It is just corny, but they know it. It's over the top, and they know it. They love to sing, and this is a personal thing. I just love this film. This is probably the movie I could either have already watched the most or could already watch the most forever. This is such a great film. It's fun, it gets stuck in your head. I'm a huge musical guy. This is probably why it probably is higher, just because the songs make it even better. I will definitely understand you guys hating me for this list, but number 5, I'm going to start off with Pitch Perfect. Number 4, Hacksaw Ridge. Now this is another one where it's something that I wouldn't normally love, a war movie, an action movie, and it's so high on my list because they did this perfectly. Mel Gibson directed it, he crushed it. Andrew Garfield, was the star. He crushed it. This movie is so good. I've never been more blown away of a movie being this good that I didn't expect to be, because it's not my genre than this. It got me emotional so many times. I was so behind the start of the movie because you see, it's not just a movie that you're in war and you're here and this is what war's like. It's no, we're going to show this whole guy's life. And him getting there, meeting Teresa Palmer's character, it made me emotional, and then him not being able to get in because he can't, wouldn't fire a gun, made me emotional when they're going to kick him out and lock him up, all this shit, and then the action at the end is damn good. This movie is amazing. It truly is amazing, and in my opinion, it is the best war movie of all time. Number 3, Avengers Infinity War. Now, this is one where you guys might ask me, am I a critic or am I a fan? I'm a fan at heart, and this shows why. Seeing the MCU come to a head like this is so damn good. All these characters crossing paths, making a damn good movie. The way it ended, I think, is probably the reason why it's higher, in my opinion, than Endgame. That's a ballsy as shit movie, and they crushed it. Funny as hell through the entire movie. Great action scenes. Thanos is Thanos. He killed it. The entire mass cast shined as a whole unit. This movie is just really damn amazing. Every essence of my word says that. Number 3. Number 2, Whiplash. This is another one that I think is criminally underrated just because it's not a big remake or comic book movie or action stars. It's not. It's Miles Teller, it's J.K. Simmons, and Damien Chazelle directing him, and then just letting him go. It is amazing. It is well crafted as hell. It is just so awesome. So intense. I've never been so riled up about drumming in my entire life. The performances that J.K. Simmons, Miles Teller gives is next level. J.K. Simmons is truly just up here and just smashing it. The scenes are so intense, so well made. Chazelle proves to be one of my favourite directors. He crushed it. This movie is really, really awesome and criminally underrated. Number 1, La La Land. Yes, if you either know me or watch his channel enough, you guys know my love for this movie. I think this movie is a perfect movie. The only thing you can say about it, the movie, that it is a musical. So if you don't like musicals, that's the only fault. Because other than that, it's perfect. The songs blend in so well with everything else going on. Gosling and Stone crush it. Damien Chazelle, again, had the top 2 of my list, which is crazy to have one director that has the top 2 of my decade, but he did. This movie's perfect. The colours look phenomenal. I like the old school LA kind of feel to this whole film. It's just awesome. It just really is. I think even people that don't like musicals like this movie. I think that's how much it really just hits, that I think it's phenomenal. And it will forever be my, top 3 of all time, I think. For film, it's phenomenal. I'm done saying things like phenomenal or awesome or perfect, because that is it, guys. That is my top 25 of the decade. It took a long time to make. I think 4 months of watching films that I hadn't. Luckily, I got some extra time to watch these films in a bad circumstance, but it got me to catch up. This list took me ever to watch. These are actually the nominations that I made right here. These are 50. There was actually a couple films that didn't... I just missed out on the nominations, or maybe not would have, but I hadn't seen them, so I chucked it first, and I was like, alright, it can stay because I did really enjoy it. But maybe if I had seen it, wouldn't have made it. Whatever. A couple movies that I think were disappointing that I had expected to be better. I won't get into that because I might fight someone in the audience. But thank you guys so much for watching. It has been a long video, I know. If you made it to the end, I do appreciate it. It has been a long time to make this video. We're in April now. We're in the end of April, but we got here. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you do follow me on everything. Instagram, subscribe to me here. Give it a thumbs up. The thumbs up goes a long way. Let me know your favourite movie of the decade. If you enjoyed the list, what you thought of my list, whatever you want to talk about, guys. Thank you so much for watching. But of course, have a good one.